Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Granblue Community League Review Show. I am Mike Ross and we are going to be going in depth, analyzing, looking at everything that's been happening thus far throughout these tournament series. As you might have seen, we've had tournament results all over the world so far, from US to EU to Asia, and we are going to be looking at some of those matches. We're going to be talking with some of the talent a part of the show, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Virum and Chay Benji. Virum, as you might have seen, has been commentating with me as well on a lot of these events, holding it down out in the UK scene. Virum, how are you doing so far?
I am doing great. Thank you very much for asking, Mike.
Excellent.
I'm looking forward to the rest of the show.
Excellent, excellent. And also joining us is Chay Benji, who has been the TO of the whole tournament, working endless hours, constantly listening to the community and providing feedback. Chay, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Excellent. So, guys, it's great to be a part of this and have you guys here with me today. Virum, you have been broadcasting a lot of these tournaments thus far. What has your overall been, your experience been like witnessing some of these tournaments?
Well, I think over the years for Granblue, obviously the game's been out for a good couple of years now, I just think the level of gameplay has progressively evolved, and it's been really impressive to see for a game that on the surface seems quite simple, but various different players are really kind of emerging with their own different play styles, and we're seeing various different regional differences between how high-level players operate in different regions. The North American players play differently to the European ones, who play differently to the other Asian players. It's really exciting to see just how all of these play styles are coming together and interacting with each other.
And one of the questions, that I've asked previously, and I want to get your kind of input and feedback, being a player, and commentator out in the UK scene, when Granblue first hit, the world was kind of in a weird situation where, a lot of people, we all essentially were on shutdown mode. How do you feel that impacted, the community out there, if at all?
So obviously Granblue came out pretty much the moment COVID hit, and consequently that has led to the community being very, very online focused, and it's cultivated as a result a very, very dedicated, very, very tight-knit community. And I think it's very fair to say this, a lot of that is in part to our main man here, Chay Benji, responsible for Hearts Are Blazing. That is kind of the central hub for European Granblue. And yeah, it's been a little rough in places, but at the same time, I think the community for this game is absolutely wonderful. They are so committed. They will be more than happy to help you out if you're a brand new player. And it's just amazing seeing all of these different countries and cultures and players of all different skill levels come together to play this game that they love, because there's genuine passion permeating throughout all parts of this community.
Yeah, you mentioned, kind of like a savior as Chay Benji over here. Chay, you mentioned as putting on the Hearts Are Blazing tournament series and whatnot. What inspired you to want to go about putting on such tournaments?
Well, essentially, it was EVO 2019.
Okay.
I was really excited to get invested in fighting games because they were a pretty minor part of my childhood. I played them here and there, but I was mainly just, going into game, coming out with a bunch of random games, and, wow, some of them happened to be fighting games. But around, 2019 was when I started to get into the fighting game community, and obviously that was right around when coronavirus hit. Okay. And there was a game coming out called Granblue Fantasy Versus, and, after the Zeta trailer and the Bilal trailer, I was really interested to give this game a go. Unfortunately, coronavirus did hit, so that affected local and offline scenes, and then subsequently there was, basically there was no real infrastructure, especially inside of Europe, right? There was very little infrastructure for online events in Europe, so I decided to make Hearts Are Blazing, which is a European online fighting game community, where, it's a hub for discussion, matchmaking, tournaments, events, and all sorts of stuff like that, so yeah, I put that on to try and give Granblue some love, essentially, so that I had an outlet to play the game. And yeah, we're here now. So
I love to hear that. Yeah, if you don't have it, you just got to build it yourself. But what inspired you to do that? Like, where did you get the idea to say, like, because, you know, you, from what I'm understanding, you picked up everything, you know, rather late in the game, 2019. Where did you get the ideas from to say, hey, I need to start just running the tournament myself? Were you looking at other tournaments or anything like that? Were you playing anything beforehand? Or did you just jump in fresh in 2019?
I played some Dragon Ball.
Mm-hmm.
I played some Dragon Ball. And I was a huge Dragon Ball fan ever since I was a kid. It was a big part of my childhood. But yeah, following that pretty naturally, I took inspiration from Fighting Tuesdays from Anime Illuminati and Team Spooky, of course, NLBC. Absolutely. And then also the people over at Lunar Phase at East Coast. You know, they have some amazing events. And essentially, I looked around in Europe and realized that we had nothing similar. And, you know, this is before Tyrant and Damascus started putting on some really phenomenal stuff for Europe. And since then, you know, between me popping up with Hearts Ablazing and then, you know, huge people like Damascus, Tyrant, starting to really put on some incredible events and to adding to the infrastructure in Europe. Yeah, I think we're in a much better place now. And obviously, that is accentuated by the fact that after years of fighting, we've got some, you know, some developer support for an official tournament for Granblue, which has been a long-standing dream of mine, something I've been fighting for, well, since I started.
Well, all right, so I got a question now for both of you, and I'm going to ask Virum first, since, you know, you might have similar answers, but what do you think of the overall competition for Granblue players versus the rest of the world? And who, in your opinion, are the strongest players?
Is this strictly talking about Europe or as a whole within the world?
Strictly just for Europe, from what you've seen.
Okay. So I think actually the results that we've seen so far in the qualifiers, both the West and the North, have featured some of Europe's best players. I would say Dragoi is probably the best at the moment, based on a number of factors, including his recent results. He hasn't obviously been involved in one of the qualifiers, since he'll be playing in the EU South, since he's from Spain. But he got an incredibly impressive 5th placement at Evo. He's absolutely amazing player. Fitizen, also absolutely incredible player, obviously the winner of EU West. Svampen, Miri, Mr. Powell, and of course we've got players who have really been on the come up as of late. Soki, as we saw, getting 2nd place at the EU West qualifier as well. Just some really excellent talent here in Europe.
And Chay, Benji, can you vouch for that? Is there anything else that he's missing?
Yeah, I mean, building off of what Virum was saying, it's been such an incredible experience being able to watch, you know, in a relatively short lifespan of this game, we've had multiple eras. So, for example, right at the beginning of the launch of the game, we had players such as Svampen, Miri, who obviously we saw at European North, you know, winning every single tournament, as well as some UK players like Rickster. And that, you know, subsequently we've had multiple different eras as players start to come over from PlayStation 4, like Virum and Cake, who are now, you know, some of the best European players who we've seen in the top 8. And I'm sure we would have seen Virum approaching one of those top 8s if he wasn't on commentary, so don't let him downplay himself. But yeah, so it's been phenomenal seeing all of this talent that's been growing from day one. And one of the players that is really shout out is Soki. He's been doing a lot for the European Granblue community, and all of a sudden he is rising through the ranks, putting Fitizen nearly at a loss. And the only person in the entire tournament that nearly gave Fitizen a loss over in the winners quarterfinals, I believe. So yeah, you love to see these players developing. But the story that, you know, writes itself is Dragoi, who we're going to be seeing in the next event, which will be October 8th. He is a phenomenal player. He's incredibly young, but incredibly talented across multiple different games. You know, he's one of the players that managed to make it out to EVO this year, and yeah, he came 5th there. So Dragoi is definitely someone to watch, but the Spanish scene and the different regional scenes in Europe in general are absolutely filled with talent. But the Spanish scene deserves a special shout out, because there's all sorts of players that I don't think we typically see that much online that might turn up to this qualifier, who I'm really, you know, I'm really interested to see if they do, because if they do, we're going to be seeing some names from other titles who are mostly playing offline in like the Barcelona scene.
And again, that's the purpose of this, is we want to see all those players kind of emerge that normally don't get as much spotlight as you would, you know, versus other events. So yeah, hopefully they do pop up. And since you are, handling all of the operations of this tournament, you have had your ear to the streets. What would you say, the overall perception has been? How has it been for you TOing this event?
So, I've been fighting for years at this point to get a developer-backed tournament for Europe, because I believe that Europe has the, it has the talent, it has the players, it has the passion. So all it needed was a little bit of love from the developers. So obviously, it's come in at a really rough transitional period, because with offline finally starting to come back, I feel like there was some expectations that were high, but something that everyone needs to understand is that, if we feel like we've been kind of sidewinded by coronavirus, I can only imagine how it must have affected Cygames and the developers and all of the people, who are trying to bring really great stuff to, to the forefront. With that said, there are some issues, that this is an event that's been years in the making at this point. But, I know that the team, especially all of the Elephant team over in Singapore, they're really receptive to all of the feedback that everyone has. And I'm really happy, because they've been making a lot of changes. And I genuinely believe that as this goes on, every event's just going to be better and better. And I'm looking forward to seeing the finals.
Absolutely. One of the finest teams ever put together. Couldn't agree anymore. And Virum, I know you're humbling yourself. You obviously passed up the opportunity to win the whole tournament because you chose to take the role as commentating. Is there how do you feel, taking that position? First off, I can say I'm very appreciative of it because your knowledge and ability on the microphone is outstanding. What was your decisioning to do that?
I think in the grand scheme of things, I just really love doing commentary. I really love this game, and so I really like being a voice for this game to kind of share what I love about this game, share my information on the players and on the game itself, and being able to get that across to the various people across the world watching at home. That to me is something that I personally enjoy more and I get more out of than competing. I love competing. I've been competing both in European events. I was at both Combo Breaker and Evo to both commentate and compete there as well. But just being able to articulate about this game to all sorts of people is something that I absolutely adore doing.
Yeah, I'm very thankful that you've chose that because I think you're outstanding on the mic.
Thank you.
Well, yes, you guys have mentioned some of these players out here. I want to reference that we did pull an interview with the winner of the recent EU tournament. So at the first EU North event, we did have a rather interesting finish with Miri taking the entire tournament. And right now we're going to jump with an interview with Miri to find out exactly what was going on.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in right now. We are here with the winner of the Northern European Tournament, Granblue Fantasy versus Community League Tournament. Mary, congratulations on such an amazing victory. How are you feeling right now?
I mean, I'm feeling alright. It was kind of anticlimactic though, at the end, when it happens.
Anticlimactic? What are you talking about? You dominated in winners finals. Once it got to grand finals, you were still showing just complete dominance. Where does the anticlimactic moments come in your mind?
Right at the end. Let's say when Swamp and disconnected. Let's say that was the anticlimactic part. Also, me dropping the killing combo about 7 times in that set. That was kind of,
So tell me this now, since now that you're able to pull you aside. For people that didn't get a chance to see it, we saw a disconnect at the very end. But to be fair, it looked like you had somewhere between 80 to 90% health left, and Svampin was down to, 10%, maybe less. Do you really think that you had a chance at losing that match at the end?
I mean, there's always a chance that a random bystander jumps to my balcony and bashes him. You can, but realistically, I don't think I could have lost that match. No.
I like that. And how confident were you going into this tournament from the start? Before you got to the top 4, going into the tournament, did you know this was your tournament for the taking? Did you feel that anybody was going to pose a threat to you?
No, when I looked at the participants, only Swampen was really like someone I was worried about. Everyone else is kind of free, for lack of a better word.
So, I mean, hey, I appreciate and I admire the confidence and honesty. What drew you to playing Eustace?
I wanted to play someone like I come from Exert. I play Venom. Eustace has like somewhat similar moves, even though they're like 10 times worse. But it feels good to use them, and I miss playing charge characters, to be honest.
I understand. Yeah, I understand. Charge characters have a special place in my heart as well, so I hear you on that. When you were playing Svampen at the end there, how was your experience like playing against Zeta?
Usually when we play, it's more about me versus Svampen instead of me versus Zeta, since we played quite a lot. Okay. And this time around I was a bit more prepared with 2-1-4 heavy anti-airs, and I don't think he was quite ready for those.
Okay. And judging from some of the other players, some of the other strong players in Europe, are there any predictions you might have, or as to who might take the qualifiers from the eastern and the southern regions?
Southern one, Drago is gonna win one. I don't know about the second one. Okay. East region, Pida and Lord Venom is gonna win. Like realistically, there's no one else that's actually good at the game in the EU region.
Man, I have to say your straight bluntness and
I mean, where like where you're shaking your head, I'm just telling it how it is.
That's why I'm shaking my head. It's not really giving any hope or chance to anybody. You're just like, oh yeah, no, this is just, it is what it is. So I mean, hey, that's fair enough. I respect and I appreciate that. I guess more in the American mindset would be like, oh well, there's 128 competitors, anybody can win. But you're just kind of saying it as a matter of fact. So
we've had this discussion with Dragoy usually, like which is more toxic, pretending that someone actually has a chance of winning, or just saying that you can't win. Like I think it's the second one that's like normal. Dragoy thinks it's toxic to say that, but
it is what it is. So I mean, with that said, I mean that's kind of why you got that win there. Disconnect happened, nothing you can do about it. Wasn't you at fault, and even if that disconnect didn't happen, you had such a dominating lead on the set. Nothing but props and congratulations to you, and can't wait to see how you do later on in this tournament.
Thank you. I'll probably get just bodied by the good players, but we'll see how it goes.
That's right.
I can also say that. No, I have a question for you. Like last stream, it looked like you were in a prison cell. But it kind of looks like you escaped it this time.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So,
you calling me out? You calling out the background?
I am calling out the background. Like, there was like a random wire just hanging around. It looked like it was a phone that was cut off. Like you just couldn't call anyone.
Oh my god, I'm hoping that nobody saw that random wire. But just so you know, that background, as well as this background, is all green screen. There's nothing really behind me. So, yeah, we'll just go
I see.
We'll just go with that right now. So what I'll try to do then, I'll try to do this just for you, okay? So the very next time, I'll try to make sure that I redecorate the prison cell and add a little bit of color and sparkle to it. I can't believe you called me.
Yeah, please do that.
That's amazing. Okay, please.
Yeah, we were joking, boys, that you were just like, they drag you on like from hyperbolic sleep only to commentate Granblue and nothing else.
You had your green. If you had a green screen.
Yeah.
Why would you choose an empty background for you could pick anything, and you just picked an empty white background with a wire hanging?
First of all, this is about interviewing me right now, right? This is not
That's
supposed
true.
to be
That's true.
a blow up. Next time there'll be palm trees. There's gonna be rivers flowing and all kind of crazy stuff. Man, you guys, I didn't know. Okay, you guys got jokes. That's cool.
I'll keep your word for it. Yeah, I'm looking for the palm trees next time.
Okay, I got you. Oh man, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. And again, congratulations on a dominating performance. And I would say it was a it was a good ending to the match.
It was an ending. Yeah.
It was an ending. And where can more people find information on you?
You can follow me on Twitter if you can find my Twitter somehow. I don't really advertise it. I occasionally stream on Twitch. Like before this tournament, I was streaming Multiplot, you know, training for the tournament by playing games that are not relevant. But it is.
All
like
right.
Mirik Saxa is on my Twitch. That's where you can find me occasionally.
Okay. All right, man. Well, thank you so much, and again, congratulations.
All right, thank you so much, Miri. As you can see, your comments went straight to heart. That's why the set has changed a little bit. Thank you so much. Anyways, we want to take a look at some of the things that have happened recently. Congratulations to Tega for taking ECT in Granblue. I know the match was down to the wire and it was a nail biter, so congrats to Tega. Did you guys get a chance to see that by chance?
I actually was able to catch the top 8 for Granblue at ECT, and yeah, there was a lot of great gameplay all around. Tega himself was knocked to losers just before the top 8 by guard users Fantastic Zoe. They ended up getting 5th, but Tega, predominantly on the Lance a lot in this bracket, did incredibly well on the Lance, and he's definitely a player where, depending on kind of like his mood and the state that he's in, he kind of jumps between Lancelot and Percival, plays both the Dragon Knight characters, but Lancelot was really the one who carried him all the way from the loser side into Grand Finals, where he had that intense Game 10 Grand Finals versus Buscar lose, and then taking the tournament at the end.
Yeah, and then on my end, Tega, phenomenal player, right? He's been around since the start. You know, for me, he's along names like Zombie Amu and Diaphone in terms of people who did a lot for the, you know, the American community in general. They put out a lot of content. They put out a lot of beginner guides and how people really understand their characters. And Tega, you know, another one of those players where it was only a few weeks ago that we were having a random character, like a main swap tournament, and I hit up Tega for Lancelot tips, and obviously I went to the right person as he ends up taking the tournament with predominantly his Lancelot. But yeah, also a phenomenal Percival player and a great teacher. So yeah, nothing but, you know, shout outs to Tega, as there isn't, you know, many other players who could have taken that event with you know, more of a convincing and deserved placing, basically.
That's right. So yeah, shout outs again to Tega, and of course I'll give a shout out to Shuabu as well. You got 4th place. I know what it's like, but you held it down, and thank you for helping us here as well. Going on, let's look at some of the upcoming events as well. Chay, Benji, what do you have that are some of the tournaments to be looking out for?
Yeah, so the main ones, obviously, that I think are just around the horizon is CEO Otaku for America. It's going to be a phenomenal event, and if I had to, you know, put a prediction on who's going to win that one, I'd say Zom, assuming that Zom's there, but I believe there should be a whole lot of players who play multiple different games who should be at that event as well. Players like Diaphone, Zombie Amu again, and a ton of talented players. So I'd be really interested to see if someone, because Granblue, you know, pretty simple game. It's very side gameable, but because it hasn't been at too many offline events up until now, you know, it hasn't had that much of a time to shine. But I'd be really interested to see if there's some surprise names that come out in a huge American major like CEO Otaku. And then in Europe, of course, we have the Mix-Up coming up this weekend, which is a French major ran by Keep, and, you know, who is one of the students of Flow, who's been doing a lot of, you know, really great stuff across multiple different games. I believe he's now working with the likes of some of the, you know, best European talent. So yeah, the Mix-Up is one of the premier events in Europe. They're running Granblue this year, and I know for a fact that there's a ridiculous amount of talent in the French, you know, regional scene. Some of them don't even turn up to online events, so it's going to be you're going to be seeing even more of them than usual. But the French scene is just absolutely ridiculously stacked with tournament, from players like Navia, Sombang. You know, the list could be essentially endless. And then yeah, the final event is going to be Celtic Throwdown, which me and Virum should be at the following weekend on the 24th, 25th, which is a Irish event. Again, lots of international talent going to it. Hearts of Blazing are going to be helping out where possible. And yeah, should be a great event. Really looking forward to meeting everyone there.
Excellent. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going down, so good luck to everybody going, and I hope you two actually have a great time out there at Celtic Throwdown. Coming up, too, in the league, we have the EU East one. The first event is going to be going down, and I have to rely on you guys to kind of give the viewers right now and myself the early sneak preview as who is going to take the tournament.
Ooh, if I had to be a betting man,
Yes.
My first guess would be Peter. Peter was somebody who was particularly active during Season 1, one of undisputably the best players in Europe at that point in the game. Lancelot player, incredibly good. Significantly less active over Season 2, but he pops in every now and then to play the game, and he's still an incredibly strong player nonetheless, because honestly, Granblue is one of those games where it's relatively easy to get back up to speed with the game if you haven't been heavily practicing all too much. And Peter's fundamental ability really translates. So if I had to pin a favorite, it would have to be him.
Yeah, and I'm going to be jumping in, saying pretty much the exact same thing. I talked earlier about the different eras of Granblue, and Peter's name right up there was Fampen, Miri, Rickster, all of these players was all over the initial, top 8s, essentially. There's only one thing that really, gets added in here, and that is Peter only really turns up to events with big money, so he's won Conqueror of the Eternals, I believe he won, HAB, the official tour, Season 1 and 2, and these events that he turns up to are the ones with the big prize pools, but luckily, the Community League does have a, pretty hefty, winning prize the second that you get through one of these qualifiers. So I assume we're going to be seeing Peter coming along to fund his racing sim career. But there is one name that I feel like we also have to include, which is Lord Venom. Okay. He is a Beelzebub player who has been, again, similarly, mainly around in the first era of Granblue. He was essentially unbeaten for a very, very long time, playing a character that at the time everyone considered pretty weak. In hindsight, Beelzebub wasn't that weak, but he has got, the reason why he's as strong as he is these days is because of constant buffs, essentially, whether it be to Beelzebub himself or system changes. Yeah. He's been a really buffed character, and as a result of that, even though we haven't been seeing Venom around too much ththese days, with a character as terrifying as that, and a player as venerated as, Venom, he definitely is in contention, if not for the first qualifier, for the second one, assuming he does turn up here. He's got titles underneath his belt, such as the Red Bull tournament series that was around Season 1. He managed to take that win, so yeah, definitely a player to watch out for as well.
Well, thank you guys both for letting us know who is going to be taking the tournaments. We'll be looking out for Peter. I've definitely seen his name throughout the years in some of the other games as well, so I know he's definitely one of the heavy hitters. Good luck to both of you out there at Celtic Throwdown. Where can people find more information on you guys so they can follow along and see what's going on in your worlds?
You can follow me on most social media, mainly Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram on Virum_SD, just down there. And of course, I'm also pretty active on Discord as well, on various Granblue Discords. You'll see me quite a lot in the Hearts Blazing Discord. You'll see me in the NAPC Discord. I love that community as well. So yeah, those are some of the places you can find me.
And as for me, you can find me at pretty much anywhere underneath at Chay Benji, but you can also, again, hop into the Hearts of Blazing Discord where, I'm pretty much constantly there. And yeah, other than that, just, I do stream events. Recently, I've been a bit inundated with some personal issues and also running external events such as this and ICFC, so that's where most of my focus has been. But when I am hosting events, it will be over on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/ChayBenji.
All right, so thank you everybody for tuning in this week. Thank you, Virum, and thank you, Chay Benji, for joining as well. If you guys want more information on the Granblue Community League, please go to bit.ly/GBVS League to find out when the next and upcoming tournaments are so you can participate as well. Thank you again, and we'll be seeing you next time.